Hello, ladies. Hello, 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 wherever you are, Black women around the world. And if you're wondering what this sign in back of me says, it says no free labor. And why am I highlighting that today? I am highlighting that today because I am hot. And I am so hot inside with irritation, righteous indignation, anger, near rage, because, it's because I was watching a Stitch video on TikTok about this husband violating all of his wife's boundaries because he wanted her. Actually, he was demanding that she take care of his grandma, that he can move his grandma in the house and she's going to do all this labor without assistance, by the way. No consulting, none of that. We are married, let's make decisions as a family, yada, 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 yada. For those of you who are wondering, my name is Tonya Taria. I'm a women's self-care and health coach, helping Black women live better, look better, feel better without laying on the altar of other people's expectations, that whether it's society, whether it's community, whether it's family. And this is why it is so necessary. Black women are dying needlessly because they're exhausted. All of their labor is being extracted from them and none of it's being appreciated. Not only are we as Black women dealing with microaggressions in the workplace and all kinds of disrespect and all of that, navigating patriarchy that is global, by the way. But even in the Black spaces, we have our own version of patriarchy and misogyny, which arguably is even worse. And so when you look at things like this, where a Black woman who's already stressed, she herself is a professional. She works in the home, and I'm just speaking to this video itself that was stitched because another creator had to speak on this. She's actually a therapist for women, and one is a relationship coach. She's on TikTok. I'm not going to go into it, but I just want to use this as a teachable moment where you see things playing out, because I am so passionate. Number one, I'm so passionate about women's self-care and health care, period. Number one, I work in the health and wellness industry. I'm a healthcare professional in the laboratory, in a medical laboratory. We see a lot of what happens when stress, chronic illness creeps into people's lives, and particularly what happens to women, particularly Black women, when you're navigating all of these things that are related to health and wellness, when you have oppressive systems in place. Now, back to the story, y'all. So this husband, because context here is apparently they've already been having an argument about him wanting to move his grandma into their home because they have an extra bedroom that's not being used, and it's not going to be a big deal. Just give her medication. All she does is watch Wheel of Fortune and let her sit in front of the TV and do that. But don't forget to feed her. You got to bathe her. You got to do all of this. Now, this is a working professional herself. She has twin children. She has the man baby with all of his demands, because he did tell her in this video, well, it's her responsibility because she's the woman. So by default, she should be doing all this additional labor. Meanwhile, he comes in arguing and yelling at her because she's gone to the bedroom. She's decided, okay, this is my day off from work. I'm going to rest here and watch TV. He storms into the room, has her on video for his family to see him getting on her case because she's refusing to allow him to move in his grandmother, who is not ambulatory. Now, this fool is making all these demands, and he's just getting her more and more stressed out. He's not listening to her. For those of you who are curious, go to TikTok and just type in the search bar, wife refuses to let husband move in grandma, or something of that nature. It should pop up because it's really trending, especially amongst women, particularly Black women, because this is something that we have been dealing with generationally forever. And, you know, further context too, when you look at the history of this country, history of Black women and labor and motherhood and all of these intersections for Black women historically in the diaspora, and particularly here in the US, it's not good. Add on the layers, the current statistics, where you're thinking, oh, we have all of these, we've made all of these technological breakthroughs and whatnot in the healthcare space. You know, mortality rates should be looking much better for women and babies. Maternal health should be through the roof. If everything was held constant, given the level of technology, the breakthroughs we have in the healthcare industry, pharmaceuticals, and all of that, you would think that Black women would be thriving at least from a health perspective. That's not the case. Why? Because we have all of these points of intersection in an oppressive system that's replicated even within our own communities. So this is just an example of the nonsense that Black women are dealing with. Now, on a global scale, you've got all these incel men and quote unquote traditional men that are bemoaning, you know, oh, feminism has ruined marriages, has ruined this, that, and that. When the reality is, we've taken so many steps back in terms of equality and equity, especially as it pertains to women, you know, interpersonal relationships between men and women and society at large. So you've got all of these fields of play intersecting when it comes to the lived lives of the average Black woman. And you wonder why we've had an explosion of Black women exiting churches, exiting relationships, saying that no, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I refuse to XYZ. You know, by and large, there's, you know, it's not that women don't want relationships and things of that nature, but they don't want bondage. They are tired of slavery. And this is not just the case for Black women. This is the case for women globally, are saying, no, patriarchy must be dismantled. This insanity of accessing and in a parasitic fashion, because patriarchy and misogyny are very, very parasitic. They extract labor from women and our life force until you're a dried out husk and there's nothing left. Now, I'm definitely going to get, not all men, oh, it's, you know, no, it's not. If you've got this number of women with such a loud uproar, and you've got all of this violent pushback, the math is not mathing. I am a women's self-care and health coach for Black women over 40. And I'm not the only one in this space. We are many. And the amount of healing and real self-care that Black women are slowly awakening to, and this is women globally, are waking up to the fact that something's got to change. You cannot stay on this hamster wheel going nowhere. And for those of you who follow me on Instagram at Tonya Taria Health, or you follow me on the Undomesticated Woman podcast, I rant about a lot of this. And I always say this is why self-care, self-preservation is so radical and causes so much tension. Why? Because we're dealing with power and autonomy and who has access to it, who has that right. Because if you take gender, sexes out of the equation, we're all human beings on this little blue planet, right? We're all human beings. And all of our rights are equal. If you have a controlled situation where there's no such thing as classism, patriarchy, misogyny, in all these kind of inequities, systems of inequity and oppression, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. I'm not ignoring the fact that there are a lot of things going on that are intersecting and it's very complex. But by and large, the main characters globally that is causing such destruction and tension and such discord is patriarchy, is the overarching oppressive system that plugs in racism, that plugs in white supremacy, that plugs in misogyny. And all of these things breed violence and tension. Now, we come back to this whole video that got me all hot and mad and bothered. Is because when I look in the comment, you've got the incel men saying, oh, what's wrong with that? You're a woman, that's what you're supposed to do. And then you've got the handmaidens that accompany them. Oh, when my grandma was this, that, and the other, I did it. Why? So everybody else must suffer because of your lack of what? Boundaries, sense of self, and autonomy. Because that's basically what it comes down to. All of these unhealthy relationships, and we've codified them. All of these unhealthy alignments, unhealthy relationships, and they've been codified in patriarchy and classism and sexism. And when you start introducing the whole notion of self-care, self-care is like dropping a bomb on all your enemies. And you wonder why there has been such pushback, such violent pushback. If you look at what's going on in the Middle East, if you look at what's going on in Southeast Asia, here in North America, with all kinds of crazy regressive policies and laws, I've said it before. When you begin to exert your own power, reclaim your power, your autonomy, as you set boundaries through the pathway of self-care. That's why self-care is so radical and political, because self-care is the gateway to reclaiming your power and autonomy. And guess what? Those who have benefited from your free labor, the free female labor for millennia, they're not gonna be happy with that. And that's why I say, as a women's self-care coach, especially for Black women, there's certain strategies we have to put in place so that you can execute that. And not just survive, remain in survival mode, but thrive. And that has to be tailored to each individual. And then we need to coalesce together as a collective and take it to the next level. And so that's why you're seeing on different platforms women getting together, forming cooperatives and all kinds of community groups, because this is what we have done for millennia. Community, connection, relationship, cooperation, that was birthed by female. While patriarchy brings nothing but destruction and suffering, when you dismantle and eradicate patriarchy, that's when healing, nurturing, rebirth steps in. alignment, balance comes in. You wonder why so many women are stressed out, running on that hamster wheel, going nowhere, while they're getting sick, hair falling out, all of that. It's because of these oppressive systems in place, and they don't have the tools needed to push back and reclaim what's theirs. But I always say too, as a women's self-care coach for Black women, as I always tell us, because in the words of my dad, our case is different. Our case is different because we have to navigate additional barriers to that. So we have to stop with the nonsense. Stop allowing people to extract your life force. Stop giving away your power. Stop allowing people to come to you with all these nonsensical arguments and speech designed to tear Black women down and deprive you of your sense of self and self-esteem so that they can prey on you. And if you're wondering, how can I speak of that? It happened to me. And I can say this with emotion and passion and righteous rage, because my case is also that I lost family, women in my lineage, to this. I lost a mother to this, and I lost my only sibling to this kind of bull crap, this kind of bullshit. And I will stand 10 times down, and I will die first before I allow another woman in my lineage, in my community, perish on this same altar of other people's expectations. So I came in hot today. I just couldn't. I said, you know what, enough with the bullshit. I just could not go on with the rest of my day without saying this. And I literally just got off of work and said, yeah, most of you, if you follow me on the Selfcare Maven on YouTube or Tonya Taria Health on Instagram and even on TikTok, I work in healthcare. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. I am a laboratory professional. So I work in a medical laboratory. We run the test that doctors use to make their diagnosis. But that's only part of the story. There's always more to the story. And it's time that we as Black women start writing our own and coming with the fire to take back our autonomy, cut off access to our resources and our labor that others have been siphoning off of us for generations and millennia. It's over. Time's up. So, till next time, ladies, this is Tonya, a self-care maven, helping women everywhere look better, feel better without the pressure of other people's expectations. Get off of the altar of other people's expectations. Get radical with your self-care. And it's time to get self-centered. I said it. That is my challenge. I dare you.